And then how long does it take? For this kind of situation and use case, about 4 to 6 months is average, but you can really go as fast or as slow as you want, which leads us to the first question where we're going to talk to Mandy and Jennifer about their experience. So, Mandy, we'll start with you. You implemented on Byte quite a while ago, 2018, I believe. So, how did it go for you in terms of the timeline?
Byte will go as fast as you want or go at the pace you want. For me, I like to go really fast in things. So they initially, when I had talked to the team, they were like, 4 to 6 months. I started in May was my summit integration. Jeanette came out. She handheld us through that process, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that. And we were able to be stood up, implemented, and in an environment that worked for our business, which was key to our partnership with Byte. Within 90 days, we were funding our first loan. And
Wow.
because I am an originator, we used one of my team's loans in order to fund that loan. So I was very much vested in that experience, but I didn't ever feel alone in that 90-day cycle.
Yeah, it took us a little bit longer than that. We could have gone faster, but I primarily was the person who did the implementation here for the credit union. I also oversee 4 other departments outside of mortgage. And so my time is not 100% mortgage. So in truth, it was just pretty easy. We had our homework, we had our weekly calls, sometimes 2 a week, and Dawn kept us on track. It was, it went really well.
She's good at that. And Jennifer, just going through this last year, I think you guys, if I remember right, were maybe in a situation where you kind of had to move a little quickly. So how did it go for you guys from a timeline perspective?
Yeah, we knew it was time to make a change, but like you mentioned, it was a really difficult choice, and there were a lot of options out there. And at the end of the day, when we finally made the decision, we had just about 4 months until our contract was ending with our current LOS. So we needed to move very fast. And Dawn was my implementation specialist, and I mean, she's like my best friend now. I mean, I feel like we talked so much, but it was really great because we were able to just go as fast as we wanted to. And let's see, we went live on July 19th, and we funded our first loan August 15th. So that speaks to, being able to set up out of the box and just go and fund a loan that we were able to sell.
Well, and that's the most important part right there, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, so step one in the process is really doing that workflow review and process alignment in your current environment. We really want to understand what those current pain points are, so that we can, as we move through the process, help you improve in those areas. But we also want to understand what's working for you today. So we want to make sure that we're not shocking your production staff with a whole bunch of changes. They're already changing LOSs. If we can keep things somewhat the same in Byte, we will do that.
awesome. And I think, Mandy, I'll throw it back to you. I know you actually had the opportunity to have Jeanette come out, you mentioned earlier, and meet with you guys for this part of the process. How did that go?
Well, it was awesome because I think Jeanette's been at Byte since, I don't know, maybe inception of Byte. I cannot speak to it for sure, but we went ahead and spent the money and did the summit integration. And I highly recommend that just because that allowed us to really dive deep into what we wanted to accomplish with our LOS. She just gave us some really key advice that to this day has ensured our success with the system and ensured speed to close, because loan officers, I can speak that because I am a loan officer, and top 1% in the country. And so my team does a lot of loans, and we like to go really fast. And that's one of the things that blue dial for loan officers is super frustrating. And the ability to, take an application on an LOS versus having to use a point of sale was super critical to us. So Jeanette really held our hands in that 4 days, and it's proven to continue 7 years later to have been super beneficial to just shut out the world and really focus on our rollout for that 4 days. So that was probably a longer answer than you needed, Bobby, but it really is. I just can't stress how important that 4-day rollout with Jeanette was, and just how much the partnership has meant to us long-term for our business success.
Part of it was not just implementing new software, but we changed our whole process. We went from 3 originators to almost 30. So it also involved training them and teaching them how to be originators, which we knew we couldn't do in our other software. It just was so not user-friendly, it wouldn't have worked. And so Don really just helped us identify what we needed to do to be able to make a software change and a whole process change.
Jennifer, I think the interesting thing with you guys is not only that, you guys just did this in the last year, but you did yours virtually. So kind of how did it go for you in terms of working with Don on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I think it was like 2 or 3 sessions. We spent an hour or so, or believe it, like an hour and a half each time. And we broke it out and we basically walked her through a loan. And just the having some outside eyes on our process was so valuable before you undertake a process like switching your loan operating system, because it's much easier to do off the ground than it is to undo.
Yeah.
And that was the main reason we were looking to switch, is because how do you wind back a system that wasn't set up properly? So we really got the proper guidance on what needed to come over, what should be tabled for now. And the virtual sessions just allowed us to move so fast. I mean, after that, we were off to the races.
No one lender is the same, and we understand that. And we understand that although we have a skeleton project plan that makes it very seamless as far as step 1, step 2, step 3, we also understand that these need to be tailored to meet your company where you're at, because one person needs, another person may not need. We also make sure that we do weekly updates. I personally typically like to do mine on Fridays to kind of wrap up the week. And that way to make sure that everybody is on the same page and we know, what we've been doing, what's been accomplished, and then where we're going. So the idea is that you guys have a designated implementation project manager, and our job is to lead you through that project and to basically kind of help keep you on track. We usually do up to 2 to 3 calls a week, and then obviously that check-in call that I talked about. We do have pre-configured workflows that are provided to you that you import and test. We can also help modify those to make sure that they meet your needs and your workflows. We do provide documentation. It's not like we just give you the imports and say, have at. We also meet with you and make sure that all of the information is, you understand what you're getting, and either how to use it or not to use it. I think the biggest thing for me is that I want to make sure that when you are done with your implementation, that you understand how to configure and customize your system, because being self-sufficient is really going to make you successful moving forward.
To speak on the professional hours, I mean, we had a lot of systems that we had to implement. We had a point of sale, we have a proprietary intranet, we had retail, and we have retail and wholesale, and we had to launch both channels at the same time. So we were doing quite a lot. So my IT team was diverted quite a bit. So I would take a stab at a macro and I'd be like, Dawn, this doesn't work. I need a couple hours. And she'd turn around and spit it right back, sometimes within 30 minutes, which was insane. But the support is so key to being able to have a usable product at the end. And I got to tell you, it was because of this preparation and the step-by-step and the hand-holding, we had a much better rollout.
Well, somebody asked a question, do you need a full-time admin for Byte? And I think that at least from my EVP seat, not my yellow hat, so I'm taking that hat off and being an executive vice president looking at cost. And I know that's not the question, but I want to answer the one in the chat. Currently today, we have 400 employees and we have 3 people in our tech department, and that's for everything, soup to nuts. You got a problem plugging in your computer, they handled that. Setup of a new computer. So when we implemented into Byte, it was myself, our senior processing leader, and our tech admin, and that was it, 3 of us. And
yeah, our IT staff is really knowledgeable and really good, but very, very busy. We do a lot of our own programming. So we have IT and we have our own internal programmers. but they really don't have a lot of time for mortgage. But they love Byte. Every time we have an update, but quite often our main IT guys who process that just say, oh, we just love it. It's so easy. Our previous software was not the case. But, you know, so that was great. We didn't need a lot of IT help for our implementation. Just, you know, occasionally some server stuff that they would have to set up. But really that was it. For all of the administration of the software itself, that falls on me, which I like because then I understand the system a lot better. And as far as customization goes, you can do so much with the system. But we were able to create custom screens, custom documents, custom fields. I learned how to write some basic JavaScript so we could make things a little bit more dynamic. And I mean, if you can imagine it, you can probably make it work.
That I found very helpful to us was custom fields. You can build a custom field based on your business model. So if there's something you do that's specific to your business, you can build an extended field. If there's something special that isn't in Byte, you can build a custom screen so that you can go through that. You know, one of my big hot buttons as a loan officer is tracking the referral source. So we even set up a validation rule. So they have to fill that in before they can leave the home screen, because I want to know who they got their loan referred by. Something small like that can be a needle mover for your business. That was a big thing. Custom pipeline views for our loan officers. Allison took us through setting all of those up. And then the custom statuses, you know, every company works a little bit different on status. And even though Byte gives you some ideas of what you could name things, we were able to rename those to fit our business model. And I felt like that was super helpful. And macros, validation rules, and object permissions, you can lock down certain fields so that at a certain point in the process, or a lock period. And we learned all about that during the configuration. And they give us best practices during this phase, which was super critical to us, because it basically allowed us to say, Byte looks at these as best practices. Do these best practices fit in your business model? And if they do, you can utilize them along with the macros and the validation rules. And the macros, validation rules, go ahead and implement what Byte gives you. They give you a lot of great things that they've learned from other companies over the past. And then you can start turning them off or changing them based on your business model.
We want the pipeline views, which is more of like our reporting and workflow management. We make sure that you are trained not only in the admin section of it, but that you understand how to make reports, how to use the processing log, and also how to use your custom underwriting conditions. One of our best practice actually focuses directly on loan quality management through validation rules and macros. And we also have a really good best practice for Honda and NMLS. And again, we've created these best practices over a long period of time, and there is a ton of stuff thrown into these best practices. That being said, depending on your company and your workflows, you may or may not end up implementing all of it, because we're going to tailor it. We're going to help you tailor it to what works for you guys. At the end of the implementation, and I don't want to say the end, when you get to go live, we do user training. And typically what we promote is that the people that we've worked with throughout the process and the implementation actually do the training. And we will attend that training to make sure that if they run into any brick walls or questions that they can't answer, so that they feel comfortable and they know they have a backup if they need it. But the idea is really to make sure that your team is able to train your staff for onboarding and other purposes. We want to make sure that before we close out or transition your implementation, that you have closed loans from start to finish. We're not just going to, 60 days is up, that's it, you're done. No, we do not do that. I stay with you until you feel comfortable with the system and you've closed enough loans to know that everything is working as you would expect it to be working.
I couldn't agree more with Dawn. I mean, Allison, who helped us through that process, has become a friend of mine. I mean, so the partnership doesn't end at that after that integration. I mean, I love it because I can throw ideas out and say, hey, do you have somebody that maybe created a macro around this because we found this in our system, or do you have a validation rule that's like this? And I love that we've been able to grow with Byte. So yes, I couldn't agree more that the friendships you've made during your integration, because it is like you're getting married, man. You went from speed dating when you decide on an LOS to actually getting married, and they're in it with you, and they want to see your company succeed, which I love.
I mean, it was really wonderful. We decided to train our internal staff and do, individual webinars based on the role here. So we did a couple for the loan officers, we did a couple for processors, we did underwriting, post-closing, secondary. Basically, we did those, and then we held Q&A sessions, and those I invited Dawn to, because at that point, everybody had had some time to play around.
Smart.
And she was there to answer some of the advanced questions that maybe I hadn't learned yet, which was so valuable to just have her there. And I mean, on a few of them, I didn't even get any questions that I couldn't answer. And that's all due to the support we received during the implementation. We really became the experts of our own system. Dawn committed to staying with us until we got the initial chunk of loans that we started in Byte, until we got them all to the finish line in one way or another, just to make sure that any potential issue that would have come up would come up, and that she would be right there to help us resolve it. But just knowing that she was there, allowed us to continue to develop after we finished our implementation. Just the support is just unmatched.
And yeah, we did take our branch managers and turned them into mortgage lenders. They didn't have to learn, and we also created a special role. We called it a specialist that was in between origination and processing. So it was, kind of a new step there. We were able to create custom roles in Byte, which is great. Custom statuses. I mean, you can just customize it so well, because it's just I think it's just a really intuitive system and walks you through what you need to do and the steps you need to go through to be able to take an application and get it moved along. And, where the store documents are, it's really easy to customize what you need there. I can't really say enough about the customization of it and being able to implement it without a lot of pain.
The sessions are recorded and then provided to you. And I think that's extremely valuable in that, one, you can go back and reference it. You're going through a lot of stuff, as Jennifer just said, during all this, and sometimes you forget. So you can go back and reference those. But more importantly, I think this is another one that our clients absolutely love. Once you're done with your implementation, you have access to our 100% US-based live technical support. And yes, that does mean that you can actually call in and talk to a real human. And not just any human. We have an average tenure of over 10 years of our support staff at Byte. So when you call in, you get people that know Byte inside and out, and it's a huge benefit for our clients. You also have from a operations standpoint and your TPO users, how have things been going since you kind of cut the cord?
As with any implementation, it's going to be bumpy at first, but the team's feeling really good about it. We did our trainings, we created training materials, but in the beginning, 90% of it was look in the help section. There was just articles available and guides for how to fill out this field rather than a process question. So we really only had to build out training based on our internal processes and things that made us different. It's been great having that, and it kept us on track.
So we've really enjoyed the TRID portion of it. It's allowed us to minimize our audits because of how clean the files are. And that's helped us with expenses. Obviously, being scrappy is really important to a lot of companies right now. And I just want to say that looking at the cost per unit, our cost per unit is significantly less than it was on another LOS system. So,
but now it's been a few years. It just runs really smoothly, and there just really isn't a lot of issues. But it's really easy to resolve. Our IT people just call and they get an answer, or they, you know, or they can figure it out. So I would say, you know, the ability to contact Byte is just so valuable, and just being so easy to get a hold of is great.
You can't go wrong. I mean, I've been in this business 30 years and been in a lot of LOS systems, and I'm happy to be on this call. I'm happy to be invited today, and I wouldn't say what I'm saying unless I really believed it. So.